So what suggestions do you have for the professor to help address this situation? So again, I'm going to turn this over to those grad students and hear what they have to say about this case.
So I think as well that for what it seems there is like a miscommunication of the goals from the professor's side, because he then expressed them, okay, instead of doing a regular test that you have always been doing, I will do a little bit different. So probably there is some fault from the professor in this case of not communicating, and maybe that the students, they find unexpected evaluation.
Well, he could have also provided different questions on their homework that required them to synthesize knowledge and actually bring different things together so that they would
Exactly
build a bigger picture of what's going on.
Or doing that right in class in lecture, saying, here's an example test question that I might give
Exactly.
you, and then talking about it as a class. This is what I would expect to see from you. This is the basic knowledge you would need, and this is how you apply it.
Just like a heads up, like, oh, you're going to be expected to write out answers and answer long and short questions instead of just multiple choice, which is, it seems like, what she was expecting. So there's not even a communication of that. I'd be upset.
Yeah, sure.
Also, another thing they can do is in class kind of suggesting and showing students alternative study methods instead of just read the textbook, memorize it, and turn in the homework, showing them other different ways that they can study things and also different ways they can take notes in class, because some of them, they just do what they've always done, and when it doesn't work, they freak out.
Right. To help them be more effective learners. Yeah.
That example though kind of surprised me, because I think that all the professors, they do a good job from the beginning, saying like the exam will be this way. Right from the beginning, when they go through the syllabus the first day of class, they say the exam will be wherever, and pretty much always like 2 weeks before the exam they go again and say like, okay. So I think this guy here needs
Well, I mean, honestly, regardless of how many times you say that, you're still going to get a student that says this.
Yeah, I know.
Every single time you're going to get somebody that goes, it didn't cover everything we went over. Oh, it covered other stuff. So.
Well, 72% isn't that bad.
That's average.
That could, in the curve of all the other students who are doing the same thing and are equally frustrated, wash out. So.
Yeah, physics 72 is great.
Yeah.
So maybe he didn't communicate sort of like what to expect, like what's a good grade.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think one thing that's important to remember is that you only have control over what you as the instructor does. You might have lots of suggestions for the student, and the student surely could do some things differently. But let's focus on what you actually have control over. And one of the things you can do is to communicate to students what your expectations are and what success means in the course, as well as making sure that the homework sets students up for the exams. One thing I wouldn't do from that previous question is to tell students that not all of them will pass the course. This is a common, well-meaning attempt to indicate to students that the course is hard and they're going to have to work hard, but it usually backfires and is really demotivating to students. So one of the things that you can do to set expectations for your students is write learning objectives. So the problem is that it's really easy to assume that students understand the goal of the course better than they actually do. You're an expert in your discipline, and you've probably forgotten what it's like to not know physics or chemistry or whatever it is. But the thing is that students are total novices, and they don't really know what goes into understanding a topic. And writing clear learning goals and learning objectives is one way to help students achieve that level of understanding. So I want to give you some questions for discussion. I want you to think of a time when you were a frustrated student, when you weren't sure what was expected of you in a class. Think about what happened and tell us, how did this make you feel? How did it impact you? And what factors do you think were at play in that situation? What are some of the things that the instructor might have done to clarify their expectations? So one way to communicate your expectations to your students and to yourself is by writing clear learning objectives for your course. In the next video, we're going to learn more about how learning objectives can be really useful for your instruction.